It was a cool spring evening when Mark returned home earlier than usual from his construction job. He walked into the house, his work boots heavy on the hardwood floors that led to the kitchen. As he rounded the corner, the sight that greeted him froze him in place. There in the dimly lit kitchen was his wife Emily, locked in a passionate embrace with his younger brother Jake. Mark felt as though time had stopped. His heart pounded in his chest and his mind struggled to process the scene before him. Emily and Jake pulled apart abruptly, shock and guilt written all over their faces as they turned towards Mark. Emily's voice trembled as she tried to speak, but Mark held up a hand to stop her. He couldn't bear to hear any explanations or excuses in that moment. Without saying a word, Mark turned on his heel and walked out of the house. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness. He got into his truck and drove aimlessly, needing time to think and process what had just happened. Mark and Emily had been married for 7 years. They had met in college and had built a life together, or so he thought. They didn't have any children yet, but they had talked about starting a family soon. Now all those plans felt like shattered dreams. As he drove, Mark's thoughts kept returning to the image of Emily and Jake together. He wondered how long it had been going on, how he could have been so blind. He thought about his brother, Jake. They had always been close, or so he had thought. Hours passed before Mark found himself parked by the lake where he and Emily had gone on their first date. The moon shimmered on the water's surface, casting a soft glow over everything. He sat there in silence, the weight of the betrayal settling heavily on his shoulders. Eventually, Mark pulled out his phone and dialed Emily's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice shaky and tearful. She tried to apologize, to explain, but Mark couldn't find the words to respond. He ended the call abruptly, feeling a strange mix of numbness and pain. In the days that followed, Mark and Emily tried to talk things through. She begged for forgiveness, promised that it would never happen again. But Mark couldn't bring himself to trust her anymore. The betrayal had cut too deep. Mark also struggled with his relationship with Jake. They hadn't spoken since that fateful evening. Mark couldn't bear to look at his brother without feeling a surge of anger and resentment. Their once close bond seemed irreparably damaged. In the end, Mark made the painful decision to file for divorce. He packed up his belongings and moved out of the house he had once called home. Emily pleaded with him to reconsider, but he knew that he could never fully forgive her for what she had done. As for Jake, Mark eventually reached out to him, though their relationship remained strained. They met for coffee one afternoon, awkwardly navigating the tension that hung between them. Jake apologized profusely, claiming that he had never meant to hurt Mark. Despite Jake's apologies, Mark found it difficult to forgive and forget. Their relationship would never be the same, tainted by the betrayal that had torn their family apart. Months passed, and Mark slowly began to rebuild his life. He threw himself into his work, finding solace in the physical labor and the camaraderie of his co-workers. He moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town, far away from the memories that haunted him. Mark learned to lean on his friends and family for support during those dark days. He attended therapy sessions to help him process his emotions and heal from the betrayal. Some days were better than others, but slowly he started to feel like himself again. Time marched on, and Mark eventually found the strength to open his heart to someone new. He met Sarah, a kind-hearted woman who understood his pain and accepted him for who he was. They took things slow at first, both hesitant to rush into anything serious. But as they spent more time together, Mark began to see a future with Sarah, one that was filled with hope and possibility. He allowed himself to love again, cautiously stepping into a new chapter of his life. Looking back, Mark knew that the betrayal had changed him in ways he could never fully articulate. It had shattered his trust and left scars that would always be a part of him. But it had also taught him resilience and the importance of listening to his own instincts. Mark never fully reconciled with Emily or Jake, but he learned to forgive them in his own way. He chose to focus on the positive aspects of his life and to let go of the bitterness that had threatened to consume him. As he stood by Sarah's side one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange, Mark felt a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that he had finally found his way back to happiness, despite the pain of the past. And as he held Sarah's hand tightly in his own, Mark realized that sometimes the deepest wounds could lead to the greatest growth. Months turned into years as Mark rebuilt his life with Sarah by his side. Their relationship blossomed into something strong and steady, built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Sarah brought a sense of calm and stability to Mark's life, helping him heal from the wounds of betrayal. Mark threw himself into his work with renewed vigor, excelling in his career as a construction manager. He found fulfillment in overseeing projects from start to finish, transforming raw materials into structures that stood tall and strong. The physical labor and the satisfaction of creating something tangible helped him channel his emotions into productive avenues. Over time, Mark and Sarah moved in together, blending their lives seamlessly. They enjoyed quiet evenings cooking dinner together, taking long walks in the park, and simply enjoying each other's company. Sarah's presence was a balm to Mark's soul, easing the lingering pain from his past. Despite the happiness he found with Sarah, there were moments when memories of Emily and Jake resurfaced. Mark still grappled with feelings of betrayal and hurt, especially during family gatherings or chance encounters with mutual acquaintances. However, Sarah's unwavering support and understanding helped him navigate these emotions with grace and resilience. Mark occasionally heard snippets of news about Emily and Jake through mutual friends. Emily had moved to another city and remarried, while Jake had settled down and started a family of his own. These updates stirred mixed feelings within Mark, a sense of closure mingled with a lingering twinge of resentment. Through therapy and self-reflection, Mark came to understand that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or condoning what had happened. It meant releasing the hold that bitterness and anger had on his heart, allowing himself to move forward without being weighed down by the past. As Mark and Sarah's relationship deepened, they began discussing their future together. They talked about marriage, about starting a family of their own. Mark found himself daring to dream again, envisioning a future filled with love, laughter, and new beginnings. One summer evening, under the stars by the lake where he had once sought solace, Mark proposed to Sarah. Tears glistened in Sarah's eyes as she said yes, her heart overflowing with joy. They celebrated their engagement with friends and family, surrounded by love and support. In the months leading up to their wedding, Mark reflected on how far he had come since that fateful evening when he discovered Emily's betrayal. He had endured pain and heartache, but he had also found resilience and strength within himself. On their wedding day, Mark stood at the altar, his heart full of gratitude for the love that had found him once again. As he gazed into Sarah's eyes, he knew with certainty that he had found his soulmate, someone who accepted him completely, scars and all. The years passed swiftly for Mark and Sarah. They welcomed 2 children into their family, a daughter and then a son. Mark found joy in being a father, cherishing every moment spent with his children as they grew and thrived. Through it all, Mark never forgot the lessons he had learned from the betrayal he had endured. He taught his children about the importance of honesty, trust and forgiveness, imparting wisdom that he had gained through his own experiences. As Mark watched his children play in the backyard one sunny afternoon, laughter ringing through the air, he felt a deep sense of contentment. He had come a long way from the pain and turmoil of his past. He had built a life filled with love, surrounded by a family who cherished him. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Mark knew in his heart that he had found true happiness, a happiness born from healing, growth, and the unwavering love of a woman who had stood by his side through it all. As the years rolled by, Mark continued to thrive in his career while nurturing a loving and supportive family life with Sarah and their children. Their home became a sanctuary of warmth and laughter, where memories were made and cherished. Sarah's understanding and patience helped Mark navigate the occasional triggers that surfaced from his past, providing a steady anchor in times of emotional turbulence. Mark remained in sporadic contact with his parents, who had initially struggled to comprehend the rift caused by Emily and Jake's betrayal. Over time, however, they had come to appreciate Sarah's role in Mark's healing process, embracing her as a daughter-in-law and grandmother to their grandchildren. Occasionally, Mark would catch glimpses of Emily and Jake's lives through social media or mutual acquaintances. While curiosity sometimes tempted him to delve deeper, he ultimately chose to focus on his own happiness and well-being. He had learned that dwelling on the past only hindered his present joy. Through therapy and self-reflection, Mark continued to cultivate resilience and forgiveness. He realized that forgiveness was not a one-time act, but a continuous journey of letting go and moving forward. He found solace in expressing his emotions through writing, often jotting down his thoughts in a journal that served as a private outlet for reflection. Mark and Sarah's children grew up surrounded by love and stability, nurtured by their parents' commitment to creating a supportive environment. They flourished academically and socially, each developing their own passions and personalities. Mark took pride in being an involved father, attending school events, coaching sports teams, and imparting life lessons that emphasized integrity and empathy. As their daughter approached her high school graduation, Mark and Sarah found themselves reflecting on the passage of time and the milestones they had shared as a family. They looked forward to the next chapter of their lives, knowing that their bond had weathered challenges and grown stronger over the years. Mark's career continued to evolve, and he eventually took on a leadership role in his company, overseeing larger projects and mentoring younger colleagues. His expertise and dedication earned him respect within the industry, affirming his professional journey from the challenges he had faced earlier in his career. Through it all, Mark never lost sight of the importance of self-care and maintaining a healthy work-life balance. He and Sarah made time for regular date nights and family vacations, creating cherished memories that strengthened their connection. One summer evening, as they sat together on their porch swing, watching the sunset behind the horizon, Mark squeezed Sarah's hand gently. Words were unnecessary as they shared a moment of profound gratitude for the life they had built together, a life shaped by love, resilience, and the unwavering commitment to embracing each new day with hope and optimism. Looking back on the journey that had brought him to this place of contentment and fulfillment, Mark knew that the scars of his past had become a testament to his strength and capacity for forgiveness. He had transformed pain into purpose, allowing himself to fully embrace the joy and beauty that surrounded him. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky above them, Mark closed his eyes briefly, feeling a sense of peace settle within his heart. He knew that life would inevitably bring new challenges and uncertainties, but he also knew that he was equipped with the resilience and love needed to face whatever lay ahead. With Sarah by his side and their children's laughter echoing in the air, Mark welcomed the future with open arms, knowing that he had found true happiness, a happiness that had been forged through adversity and illuminated by the enduring light of love. As the years passed, Mark found himself reflecting more frequently on the journey that had led him to this point. The scars of betrayal were no longer raw wounds, but rather faded reminders of the strength he had discovered within himself and the resilience that had carried him through. His career continued to thrive, and he found fulfillment not only in his professional achievements, but also in the relationships he cultivated within his industry. Mark's reputation for integrity and hard work grew, earning him admiration and trust from colleagues and clients alike. At home, Mark and Sarah celebrated their children's milestones, graduations, achievements in sports and academics, and the inevitable ups and downs of adolescence. Their family bond remained a pillar of strength, grounded in open communication, mutual respect, and unwavering support for one another. Mark occasionally crossed paths with Emily and Jake at family gatherings or community events. Over time, their interactions became cordial but distant. While Mark had forgiven them for the pain they had caused, trust had been irreparably damaged, and he maintained healthy boundaries to protect his emotional well-being. Through therapy and personal growth, Mark had learned to compartmentalize his emotions regarding Emily and Jake's betrayal. He focused instead on the positive aspects of his life, the love of his family, the satisfaction of his work, and the joy found in everyday moments. One autumn afternoon, Mark stood in his backyard, raking leaves as the crisp air hinted at the approaching winter. His mind drifted to the lessons he had learned over the years, about forgiveness, about resilience, about the transformative power of love. Sarah joined him, handing him a cup of hot cider with a warm smile. They sat together on a bench, watching their children play in the fading afternoon light. Mark squeezed Sarah's hand gently, feeling a surge of gratitude for the life they had built together. "Remember when we first met?" Sarah asked softly, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Mark chuckled, recalling their early days of courtship filled with uncertainty and hope. "I never imagined we'd be here with such a beautiful family," he replied, his voice tinged with affection. "I'm grateful for every moment," Sarah murmured, her gaze lingering on their children. As they sat together, enveloped in the peaceful serenity of their surroundings, Mark felt a profound sense of contentment. He knew that life was unpredictable, with its twists and turns, but he also knew that he had found his anchor in Sarah and their children. In the quiet of that autumn afternoon, Mark allowed himself to fully embrace the present moment. The past no longer defined him. It had shaped him into the person he had become, resilient, compassionate, and deeply appreciative of the blessings in his life. As dusk settled over their home, Mark and Sarah stood together, watching the last rays of sunlight fade into twilight. They turned towards each other, their hearts overflowing with love and gratitude for the journey that had brought them to this place of peace and fulfillment. With a shared smile, they walked back towards the warmth of their home, their hands entwined and their hearts united in the promise of tomorrow. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Mark knew that he was ready to face them, surrounded by the love of his family and the unwavering strength that had carried him through the darkest of times. As they stepped inside, laughter and chatter greeted them, a reminder of the joy that filled their lives. Mark took a moment to savor the sound, knowing that it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. As the years unfolded, Mark found himself increasingly immersed in the richness of family life and the deep bonds he had forged with Sarah and their children. Their home became a sanctuary of love and laughter, where every day brought new adventures and shared moments that filled his heart with joy. Mark's career continued to thrive, and he embraced new challenges with a sense of purpose and determination. His leadership skills blossomed as he mentored younger colleagues, imparting not only technical knowledge but also the importance of integrity and perseverance. Occasionally, Mark would think back to the tumultuous period when he discovered Emily's betrayal with Jake. The pain had been searing, the betrayal cutting deep, yet with time and introspection, Mark had found a way to transform that pain into growth. He had learned to forgive, not for their sake, but for his own peace of mind. Through therapy and self-reflection, Mark had come to understand that forgiveness was a gift he gave himself. It freed him from the burden of bitterness and allowed him to fully embrace the present and future without being shackled to the past. Sarah's unwavering support had played a crucial role in his healing journey, her love a constant source of strength. Their children grew up to be compassionate and resilient individuals, guided by the values Mark and Sarah had instilled in them. They navigated life's challenges with grace, knowing they had a loving family to lean on during difficult times. One summer evening, as Mark sat on the porch swing with Sarah, watching the fireflies dance in the twilight, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. He reached for Sarah's hand, the gesture a silent acknowledgement of their journey together, the highs and lows, the joys and sorrows. "I never imagined life could be this beautiful," Sarah whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Mark turned to look at her, his heart overflowing with love. "Me neither," he replied, his voice tinged with a smile. They sat together in comfortable silence, the night enveloping them in a cocoon of peace. Mark knew that life was unpredictable with its ups and downs, but he also knew that they had weathered storms together and emerged stronger. As they prepared for bed that night, Mark found himself reflecting on the resilience of the human spirit. He had learned that scars did not define him. They were reminders of the battles he had fought and the strength he had discovered within himself. In the quiet of their bedroom, Sarah nestled close to him, her presence a soothing balm to his soul. Mark closed his eyes, feeling a deep sense of contentment wash over him. He knew that whatever the future held, he was ready to face it, with Sarah by his side and their love lighting the way. As they drifted off to sleep, Mark whispered a silent thank you to the universe for leading him to this place of peace and fulfillment. He knew that life would continue to unfold, bringing new challenges and adventures, but with Sarah's love and their family's support, he was confident they could face anything that came their way, hand in hand, hearts intertwined. In the years that followed, Mark and Sarah continued to nurture their relationship and their family with unwavering devotion. Their children grew into young adults, each pursuing their passions and carving out their own paths in the world. Mark found immense pride in witnessing their achievements, knowing that he and Sarah had provided a foundation of love and support that empowered their children to flourish. Mark's career reached new heights as he took on more significant responsibilities within his company. He thrived in leadership roles, balancing strategic vision with practical execution, and earning respect not only for his expertise, but also for his integrity and commitment to excellence. His journey from the pain of betrayal to this professional success was a testament to his resilience and determination. Occasionally, Mark would reflect on the past, on the night he had discovered Emily's infidelity with Jake. The initial shock and heartbreak had been overwhelming, threatening to consume him. Yet, through therapy and the passage of time, he had found a way to make peace with the past. Forgiveness had been a gradual process, not without its setbacks, but ultimately liberating. Emily and Jake had moved on with their lives, each finding their own paths to happiness. Mark occasionally heard snippets about them through mutual acquaintances or social media, but he had chosen to maintain a respectful distance. Their presence in his life had become a distant echo, a reminder of lessons learned rather than a source of ongoing pain. Mark and Sarah's relationship deepened with each passing year. They celebrated anniversaries with quiet dinners and family vacations, cherishing moments of togetherness and reflection. Their love had matured, weathering life's challenges and growing stronger with each shared experience. One evening, as they sat together on their porch under a canopy of stars, Sarah leaned her head on Mark's shoulder. The gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine from their garden, mingling with the faint chirping of crickets in the distance. "Do you ever think about what might have been?" Sarah asked softly, breaking the tranquil silence. Mark glanced at her, his gaze tender. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I wouldn't change where we are now for anything." Sarah smiled, her eyes sparkling with affection. "Neither would I." They sat in companionable silence, savouring the peace of the moment. Mark thought about the twists and turns that had led them here, the pain of betrayal, the healing journey, and the profound love that had emerged stronger than ever. As they prepared for bed that night, Mark felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. He kissed Sarah goodnight, his heart full with love for the life they had built together. In the quiet darkness of their bedroom, Mark reflected on the resilience of the human spirit. He had learned that life was a tapestry of experiences, joy and sorrow, triumphs and setbacks. Through it all, he had discovered inner strength and the power of forgiveness, allowing him to embrace life's uncertainties with courage and grace. As he drifted off to sleep, Sarah's steady breathing beside him, Mark felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that their journey together would continue to unfold, filled with new chapters and adventures. With Sarah by his side, he was ready to face whatever the future held, secure in the knowledge that their love was a beacon of light guiding them forward. In the quiet moments of reflection that followed, Mark often found himself marveling at the resilience of the human heart. The journey from betrayal to forgiveness had not been easy, but it had been transformative. He had learned that healing was not linear. It ebbed and flowed like the tide, sometimes calm and serene, other times turbulent and challenging. Through it all, Sarah had been his steadfast companion and anchor. Her unwavering support and understanding had been instrumental in his healing process. She had held space for his pain, encouraged his growth, and celebrated his victories, both big and small. Their love had deepened through adversity, forged in the fires of life's trials. Mark had also come to understand the complexities of forgiveness. It wasn't about condoning the actions of others or forgetting the hurt they had caused. Instead, it was a conscious choice to release the grip of resentment and anger, freeing oneself from the burden of carrying past wounds. It was a gift he had given himself, a pathway to inner peace and emotional freedom. Occasionally, Mark would come across old photographs or mementos that stirred memories of his life before the betrayal. He would pause, acknowledging the pain of those moments, but also recognizing how far he had come since then. Those memories no longer held the power to wound him. Instead, they served as markers of his growth and resilience. As their children embarked on their own journeys in adulthood, Mark and Sarah found themselves embracing a new chapter of their lives together. They enjoyed exploring new hobbies, traveling to places they had always dreamed of, and savoring the simple pleasures of everyday life. Their bond continued to deepen with each passing year, strengthened by a shared history of overcoming challenges and celebrating triumphs. Mark's career continued to flourish, and he found fulfillment not only in professional achievements, but also in mentoring younger colleagues and giving back to his community. He had discovered a sense of purpose in using his experiences to inspire and uplift others, sharing his story of resilience and forgiveness as a source of hope. One spring afternoon, Mark and Sarah took a leisurely stroll through their neighborhood park hand in hand. The sun cast a golden glow over the blooming cherry blossoms, creating a scene of serene beauty. They found a bench beneath a towering oak tree and sat down, enjoying the tranquility of the moment. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Sarah asked softly, breaking the peaceful silence. Mark smiled gently, squeezing her hand affectionately. "I used to, especially in the beginning," he admitted. "But now I'm grateful for every twist and turn that led us here." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder, her expression filled with love and contentment. "Me too," she murmured. They sat together in companionable silence, enveloped in the warmth of their love and the beauty of their surroundings. Mark felt a deep sense of gratitude for the life they had created together, a life shaped by resilience, forgiveness, and an unwavering commitment to each other. As they walked home, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows behind them, Mark knew with certainty that their journey was far from over. Life would continue to unfold, presenting new challenges and opportunities along the way. But as long as they faced it together, hand in hand, he was confident they could weather any storm that came their way. With Sarah by his side, Mark embraced the future with hope and optimism, knowing that their love was a beacon of light, guiding them through whatever adventures lay ahead. As the years continued to pass, Mark and Sarah found themselves settling into a rhythm of contentment and fulfillment. Their children had grown into independent young adults, each carving out their own paths in life with the solid foundation of love and support their parents had provided. Mark's career had reached new heights, and he found himself increasingly involved in industry leadership and community service. His experiences had equipped him with a depth of empathy and wisdom that resonated with those he mentored and worked alongside. He took pride in fostering a culture of integrity and collaboration, traits that had become pillars of his professional life. Sarah, too, had pursued her passions and interests, contributing her talents to various community organizations and nurturing her creative pursuits. Their home had become a hub of warmth and hospitality, where friends and family gathered for celebrations and quiet moments alike. Occasionally, Mark would think back to the tumultuous period of his life when he discovered Emily's betrayal. The pain had been searing, threatening to consume him at times. Yet, through the support of Sarah and his own resilience, he had emerged stronger. Forgiveness had been a pivotal turning point, allowing him to release the weight of anger and bitterness that had once clouded his heart. He had learned that forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past or excusing wrongdoing, but about reclaiming his own peace and happiness. It had been a journey of self-discovery and growth, one that had ultimately led him to appreciate the depth of his own capacity to love and forgive. Mark and Sarah continued to nurture their relationship with intentionality and care. They traveled together, exploring new destinations and creating cherished memories. They reveled in the simple pleasures of daily life, shared meals, walks in the park, and quiet evenings by the fireplace. One evening, as they sat together on their porch, sipping tea and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Sarah spoke softly. "Do you ever wonder what our lives would have been like if things had been different?" she asked, her gaze thoughtful. Mark took a moment to consider her question, his own thoughts drifting back to the crossroads of his past. "I used to," he admitted, "but I believe everything happens for a reason. Our journey, with all its ups and downs, has brought us here." Sarah nodded in agreement, a smile playing on her lips. "I'm grateful for every twist and turn that led us to this moment," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. Mark reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining effortlessly. "Me too," he replied, his heart swelling with love for the woman who had stood by his side through it all. They sat together in companionable silence, the evening breeze carrying the scent of flowers from their garden. Mark felt a deep sense of peace settle over him, knowing that he was exactly where he was meant to be, with Sarah, their love a beacon of strength and resilience. As they retreated indoors, the soft glow of lamplight enveloped them, casting a warm ambience over their home. Mark felt a surge of gratitude for the life they had built together, a life shaped by forgiveness, love, and the unwavering commitment to embrace each day with hope and gratitude. In the quiet moments before sleep, Mark whispered a silent prayer of thanks, knowing that their journey together was far from over. With Sarah's hand in his, he embraced the future with optimism, eager to continue writing their story of love and resilience, one chapter at a time. As Mark lay beside Sarah that night, the soft rhythm of her breathing a comforting lullaby, he reflected on the journey that had brought them to this place of peace and contentment. His heart swelled with gratitude for the love they shared, a love that had endured trials and tribulations, emerging stronger and more resilient each time. In the quiet darkness, Mark felt a deep sense of certainty about their future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them together, bound by a love that had weathered storms and illuminated their path. As the first light of dawn painted the sky outside their window, Mark whispered a vow to himself and to Sarah. He promised to cherish every moment, to continue nurturing their love with the same dedication and tenderness that had brought them to this moment. With a gentle kiss on Sarah's forehead, Mark closed his eyes, feeling a profound sense of peace wash over him. They had travelled a winding road, marked by unexpected turns and unforeseen obstacles, yet through it all they had found their way to each other, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. As sleep finally claimed him, Mark knew with unwavering certainty that their journey together was far from over. With Sarah by his side, he looked forward to the adventures that awaited them, eager to embrace each new chapter of their shared story with hope, courage, and a heart full of love.